There comes a moment in every person's life, often in silence, often through pain, when a simple, brutal truth breaks through the noise. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're tired, that you've tried, that it's unfair, that you're past hurt, that your dreams feel far. Nobody cares how long you've waited, how hard you've worked without recognition, how heavy the weight feels some mornings, and when that truth lands, it stings. It knocks the air from your lungs. It makes you feel invisible, discarded, forgotten. But sit with it long enough, and that same truth becomes your greatest weapon. Because once you truly understand that nobody is coming to save you, you stop waiting. And once you stop waiting, you start moving. The world does not owe you support. Your past does not excuse you from action. No one's going to carry you to the top of the mountain, and the moment you stop expecting that, you stop being a victim. You become a force. This is what the Stoics knew. They didn't write their philosophy to be admired. They wrote it to survive, to rise even when life fell apart, to build something within that could not be shaken by what happened without. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, warrior, philosopher, wrote not to impress others, but to remind himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The world didn't care that he was tired, that he was overwhelmed, that war and plague pressed in on all sides. But he didn't use that as a reason to collapse. He used it as a reason to center. You must do the same. You are not special because you've struggled. Everyone struggles. But you become rare when you rise without needing sympathy. Let them ignore you. Let them doubt you. Let them scroll past everything you build. Good. Now you're free. Free from seeking applause. Free from performing. Free from the addiction to recognition. Now you can build for real. You want power? Stop trying to convince them to care. Convince yourself to commit. Because here's the twist. Nobody cares, yet everyone's watching. Watching to see if you'll quit. Watching to see if you're real. Watching to see if you need permission or if you walk anyway. Let them watch. Not for approval, but because one day your results will say everything your words never could. When you accept that nobody owes you anything, you stop moving like a beggar. You move like a builder. And builders don't ask for applause. They just show up. Every day. Hammer in hand. Even when it's raining. Even when no one drives by the site. Until one day, a cathedral stands. And the same people who didn't care before, now whisper, how did he do it? And the answer is simple. He stopped waiting. He started working. And he never looked back. Discipline without recognition. Focus without feedback. Consistency without compliments. That's what makes you dangerous. Because most people stop when the applause stops. You just begin. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. Let them think you're lost. That's fine, because while they talk, you build. And when the dust settles, they won't even remember the jokes they made, but they'll remember what you became. Nobody cares. Good. Then you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify the early mornings, the missed parties, the silence, the solitude. You don't need to post your progress. You don't need to defend your standards, you just need to live them. Let them scroll. Let them sleep. Let them chase comfort. You train. You move. You refine. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. That's your power. The detachment from applause. The ability to keep going when no one claps, no one texts, no one affirms. That's the moment you stop being a follower of motivation and become a leader of your own mind. Nobody cares. And that's beautiful because it means this path is yours. Pure, unfiltered, uncontaminated by expectation. So claim it, own it, walk it, and let the world see, not through your noise, but through your unshakable results. In the age of metrics, likes, follows, shares, comments, reactions, we've been trained to believe that our worth is tied to response, that silence means failure, that invisibility means insignificance. But that is a lie, a dangerous, noisy lie that pulls you away from inner power and into the chaos of external validation. The Stoics taught the opposite. They taught that worth is internal, self-derived, measured not in how many cheer for you, but how well you live when no one's watching. You are not valuable because they noticed. You are valuable because you showed up, again, and again, and again, even when they didn't clap, even when no one said thank you, even when your name wasn't mentioned, your effort unseen, your sacrifices misunderstood. That's the moment you prove your worth to yourself. You want freedom? Detach your value from their reaction. Because what happens if you don't? You start to bend. You water yourself down. You abandon the unpopular truth. You reshape your life to fit their tastes. And slowly, you disappear. Not because they silenced you, but because you forgot your own signal. The man who chases applause will always feel empty when the clapping stops, but the man who moves from principle, from clarity, from self-respect, he doesn't need an audience, because his life is the evidence. You think they don't see you now? Good. Now you don't have to perform, you just have to build. Your worth isn't in your virality, it's in your integrity. It's in the hours you train without a camera. It's in the habits you repeat without recognition. It's in the decisions you make, not because they're popular, but because they're right. Applause fades, but your soul remembers every time you chose alignment over attention. The Stoics called this inner dignity. It means you don't need an audience to be excellent. You don't need approval to stay on mission. You don't shift your standard to match their applause. You are anchored in purpose, in principle, in presence. You're not a performer, you're a builder. Let others clap. Let others chase noise. You plant roots. You do the boring, beautiful, invisible work that turns noise into legacy. So here's your reminder. The loudest person in the room is often the one most afraid to be unseen. You're not here to be loud. You're here to be real, and real needs no permission. Real walks in silence, real waits, and when it arrives, they'll feel it. So stop measuring your worth by their reaction. They don't know the battles you fought. They don't know the pressure you've carried. They don't know how many times you wanted to quit, but didn't. Only you know that, and that's enough. You want peace? Let go of applause. You were never meant to live your life trying to impress people who can't even lead their own. Live aligned. Build quietly. Finish boldly. And when the world finally sees, they won't remember what they clapped for. They'll remember what you stood for. There's a level of strength that doesn't flinch, that doesn't react, that doesn't spiral, collapse, explode, or run. It doesn't need to prove anything. Doesn't need to shout. Doesn't need to win arguments. It simply holds. And when chaos hits, when people panic, when the world shakes and it stands still, that strength, it's not a gift. It's not natural. It's trained, deliberately, quietly, over time. You don't wake up unshaken. You become unshaken through challenge, through discipline, through thousands of tiny, private decisions to hold your line when everything in you wants to fold. The Stoics called it ataraxia, inner calm that nothing external can touch. Not insults, not loss, not uncertainty, not even death. A stillness so deep no storm can reach it. You want that? Then train for it. Not with force, not with rage, but with precision. It begins with awareness. Notice the emotion rising. Pause. Breathe. Don't run from it. Don't react to it, just watch. And in that space, like that half second of restraint, you reclaim power. You're not your thoughts. You're the one who sees them. You're not your fears. You're the one who breathes through them. You're not your anger. You're the one who chooses what to do with it. And that awareness, it's your anchor. Most people are walking reactions. Push their button. You get a script, insult them. They explode, challenge them, and they crumble. But a real Stoic, you push, they absorb. You insult, they pause. You provoke, they choose. They choose not to be disturbed, because they trained for this. Every moment of discomfort is a rep. Every insult is a breath. Every setback is a mirror, asking you, will you break again? Or will you hold this time? You don't train to impress. You train to become impenetrable, and the more unshaken you become, the more dangerous you are. Not because you attack, but because nothing can pull you off center. Your power doesn't lie in your speed, it lies in your stillness. Still when the market crashes, still when the text doesn't come, still when the pressure rises, still when your name is dragged through the dirt. Still. Because your identity was never built on circumstance. You train to be unshaken not for show, but for storms. Because life will test you. People will betray you. Plans will fall apart. Loss will arrive uninvited, and in those moments you will either react or remember. Remember your breath. Remember your discipline. Remember who you said you are. This is not suppression. It's command. You're not bottling emotions. You're holding them, like fire in your hand, and choosing where to point the flame. You want to be a leader? Be unshaken. You want to love with strength? Be unshaken. You want to build legacy? Be unshaken. Because storms don't destroy men who are anchored, they reveal them. So when the next storm hits, don't collapse. Don't panic. Don't lash out. Stand even if your legs shake, even if your breath shortens, even if your heart races. Stand. And one day, they'll ask, how do you stay so calm when everything is falling apart? And you'll smile, not arrogantly, but with truth, and say, because I trained for this. Some people seem calm, unbothered, composed under pressure, and we assume that's just their nature. They were born that way, but the truth is far more brutal and far more powerful. Emotional control is not a personality trait. It's a discipline. You are not born with it. You train for it, you don't inherit it. You build it through fire, through delay, through the messy, exhausting, uncelebrated practice of choosing stillness instead of the emotional spiral. You think control looks calm? Sometimes it does. But more often, it looks like a silent war inside your chest as your body begs to explode and your mind whispers, don't. Not like this. Hold the line. The Stoics didn't teach suppression. They taught sovereignty. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. You weren't triggered. You agreed to give your center away. But now you train to stop agreeing. You train to pause, to breathe, to identify the emotion without letting it pilot the moment. This is how emotional control is built. Not in comfort, but in chaos. Not when everything is aligned, but when your system screams, Snap now. And instead of snapping, you study. You observe. You breathe through it, and in that space you carve a new pattern into your nervous system. We don't react like that anymore. It's not easy. It's not instant. But every time you choose pause over panic, you get stronger. Every time you hold your silence instead of defending your ego, you get sharper. Every time you feel anger and choose strategy instead, you become more dangerous. The world doesn't need more emotional expression. It needs more emotional command, not coldness. Clarity, not numbness. Power, because emotions are not your enemy. They're messengers. They arrive loud, not to dominate you, but to test you. And most people fail that test because they never trained for it. You want to lead? Start here, because leadership is not vision. It's regulation. You think your business failed because of the market? It failed because of emotional decisions under pressure. You think your relationship broke because of incompatibility? No, because of emotional sabotage you never addressed. You think you lost momentum because you're lazy? No, because you let one emotional dip turn into a whole season of collapse. Here's the truth. Emotion is data. Reactivity is dysfunction. Discipline is the cure. So start your reps now. When you feel overwhelmed, breathe 5 seconds before any reply. When insulted, delay the response 10 minutes. When triggered, journal before acting. When in conflict, to ask yourself, will this response build the future I want? This is not passivity. This is high-level control, and the more you train, the more you notice. Anger becomes information. Fear becomes strategy. Shame becomes pattern. Recognition. Doubt becomes refinement. You stop being ruled. You start reigning. And one day, someone will test you, insult you, try to unravel you, and you'll look them in the eye, calm, steady, clear, and walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you trained so long that chaos no longer gets your attention. That's power, not the kind that roars, the kind that commands, and it starts the moment you stop saying, "That's just how I am," and start saying, "I will master this. I will not live a life ruled by reactions." The world gives you two options, complain or command. Most choose the first. They point at what's wrong, they explain, they vent, they dramatize the obstacle, and in doing so, they build a habit more dangerous than failure. Dependence on sympathy. But you're here for the second option. Adjust, silently. Because complaining is easy. It requires no effort, no clarity, no courage. Just emotion plus a mouth. But adjusting, that requires command. That requires you to look reality in the eye and say, "This is not ideal, but I still move. I don't need perfect, I need purpose." The Stoics mastered this. They didn't rant about fate. They didn't plead for life to be easier. They simply aligned. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, no whining, just refining. You think you're the only one facing pressure? You're not. Every man you admire has walked through the fire, but they didn't post about it. They didn't hold press conferences for their setbacks. They adjusted. Quietly. Efficiently. Like warriors. Like architects rebuilding their temple after a storm. Because here's the truth. Every time you complain, you reinforce the belief that you're powerless. You teach your nervous system to collapse instead of construct. And over time, you become the kind of man who points at the rain instead of building shelter. You want to rise? Then adopt this rule. No complaining, only adaptation. Things didn't go as planned. Adjust the plan. You feel tired. Adjust your pace, not your purpose. Someone betrayed you? Adjust your boundaries, not your vision. You failed? Adjust your strategy, not your standard. Every time you stay quiet and move anyway, you get stronger. Not because you're emotionless, because you've trained your emotions to sit behind your mission. Complainers crave attention. Commanders crave alignment. And alignment is built in the silence between discomfort and discipline. You don't need to announce every adjustment. Just make it. Missed a workout? Train anyway. No apology. Just reps. Got triggered? Breathe. Reset. Don't explain. Just return. Lost focus? Cut distractions. Move. Don't blame. Just correct. This is not coldness. It's clarity. Because once you start solving instead of narrating your pain, you become dangerous. You become the kind of man who doesn't get rattled by curveballs. He recalibrates, not loudly, precisely. This is your new code. Don't announce your problems. Solve them. Don't beg for sympathy. Build structure. Don't spiral in emotion. Anchor in action. Don't pause for permission. Move in purpose. You want power? Build this reputation. He doesn't complain, he just adjusts, and he never breaks. That doesn't mean you never feel, it means you feel without collapsing. You respond without spectacle. You absorb without losing center. That's real strength. And that strength builds in silence, rep by rep, day by day, adjustment by adjustment. Let others narrate their downfall. Let them collect pity like badges. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be unshaken. And that life, that quiet, brutal, liberated life starts the moment you say, I don't complain. I adjust. Energy is everything. It drives your focus, it shapes your emotions, it dictates how you speak, move, build, lead, decide. But here's what most never realize. If you don't own your energy, it will own you. Energy doesn't ask for permission. It flows where you let it. It floods the wrong thoughts, the wrong habits, the wrong relationships, unless you direct it. And most people, they leak it. They don't use their energy. They bleed it into overthinking, into conflict, into anxiety, into digital holes that suck them dry. You've felt it. You wake up clear, sharp, focused. But by noon, your chest is heavy, your mind is foggy, your spirit feels off, not because of what happened, but because of how you spent your energy. You handed it out to people who don't respect it, to apps that don't deserve it, to thoughts that don't serve you. Energy is a currency. And just like money, if you don't budget it, you will be broke by default. The Stoics knew this. They didn't just guard their time. They guarded their presence, their attention, their life force. Epictetus taught, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. The same goes for energy. You are not tired. You are disorganized. You are not unmotivated. You are leaking power. So what does owning your energy look like? It starts with this belief. My energy is sacred. It doesn't go everywhere. It goes where I say it goes. From there, stop checking your phone before your purpose. Stop giving full presence to half-hearted people. Stop engaging in debates with no upside. Stop arguing with your lower self. Stop leaving your mind open to every passing distraction. You're not a public park. You're a fortress. Own your mornings. Own your silence. Own your breathing patterns. Own your triggers, because every uncontrolled reaction is a theft of power. You want peace? Then manage your energy before managing your schedule. You want clarity? Then protect your focus like it's the last clean water in a desert. You want momentum? Then stop letting your mood hijack your mission. Own it through movement, through breath, through choosing your inputs, through owning your space physically and emotionally. And this isn't about avoiding people. It's about being so grounded that no one can distract you from yourself. So when someone brings chaos, you don't absorb it. You observe it. You don't fight their storm. You stay centered in your weather. That's energy control. When you lose energy, you lose discipline. When you lose discipline, you lose self-trust. When you lose self-trust, you drift, you spiral, and you become a man who reacts to life instead of directing it. So here's the code. I don't let my energy be owned by moods, people, platforms, or triggers. I direct it, I ground it, I multiply it. Through stillness, through boundaries, through repetition. And yes, it will cost you. You'll have to say no to people you like, no to conversations that waste, no to screens that numb, no to habits that sedate instead of sharpen. But what you gain is clarity, stamina, power. Not because you learned how to hustle harder, but because you stopped throwing energy into things that don't build you. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need better energy management. And it starts today, not with a new to-do list, but with one decision. I am no longer available for what drains me. We live in a world obsessed with talking, explaining, clarifying, justifying. Every decision must come with a speech. Every boundary must be defended. Every move must be rationalized to someone. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe them results. Results speak languages your words never could. They don't ask for permission. They don't need context. They don't wait to be understood. They announce your name without you ever saying a word. The Stoics didn't explain their silence. They didn't write essays to justify their stillness. They lived in a way that made explanation unnecessary. They didn't post about becoming disciplined. They lived with such structure that their presence revealed the standard. You want to be powerful? Stop explaining. Stop explaining why you train every day. Let the strength show up in your posture. Stop explaining why you're unavailable. Let your focus speak for itself. Stop explaining why you changed your circle. Let your peace do the talking. Explanations are cheap. They're easy. They're often designed not to clarify, but to be liked. And the more you explain, the more you shrink. Because explaining yourself too much is often the symptom of a man who still needs approval. You don't need approval. You need alignment. You need to live in such a way that the people who matter don't need an explanation. And the ones who demand one, you're no longer available to convince. You don't have to tell them you're serious now. You just move different. You don't have to tell them you've outgrown the noise. You just don't respond to it. You don't have to tell them you've leveled up. Your energy announces it before your words ever arrive. Let the doubters watch. Let the skeptics wait. Let the old circle whisper while you move, while you build, while you execute. Here's what happens when you stop explaining. Your word becomes more powerful. Your presence becomes more respected. Your boundaries become more real. Your identity sharpens without distraction. Because now, you're not trying to be understood. You're being unmistakable. You know who explains the most? People who haven't produced anything yet. People still trying to be believed. But those who've done the work, they walk in silence. Not because they're hiding. Because their results now speak louder than any speech ever could. You want to be taken seriously? Don't convince. Build. Let your projects show your priorities. Let your focus explain your growth. Let your daily habits reveal your self-respect. You don't need a personal brand. You need personal consistency, and when that shows up, they'll see. They'll feel it. They won't need a presentation. You know what's more powerful than a motivational post? Waking up every day and doing what most people won't, without broadcasting it. Be the quiet storm, unpredictable, unshakable, undeniable. Let the world discover you through output, not explanation. If they question you, let them. If they mock your stillness, let them. If they don't understand your standards, perfect. They weren't supposed to. You're not building for them. You're building with intention for results that don't need subtitles. And one day, those same people will ask, when did you get so focused? When did everything change? And you'll smile, and not to gloat, but with peace, go and say, around the time I stopped explaining and started executing. Everyone says they need more time, more hours, more space, more freedom. But that's not the truth, because the problem isn't time. The problem is attention. You don't need 10 extra hours. You need to stop leaking the ones you already have. You wake up with 440 minutes. Same as every billionaire, every artist, every soldier, every monk. The difference isn't the clock. The difference is the clarity. The Stoics didn't have iPhones. They didn't have dopamine loops, scroll traps, infinite screens. But they still weren't. If you do not value your time, others will waste it for you. Look at your day. Look honestly. How many hours do you actually command? How many hours are yours? Undiluted, undistracted, undisturbed. Now look at how often you check your phone. How often your thoughts drift. How often your body moves but your mind is elsewhere. You're not out of time. You're out of focus. Focus is the new wealth, and distraction is the most expensive addiction on earth. Not because it costs money, because it costs direction. You want your life back? Then stop waiting for perfect circumstances and start removing what weakens your mind. You think you need more discipline? No, you need fewer triggers. Unfollow the noise. Block the temptations. Delete the shortcuts to collapse. Set your life up like a fortress, not a carnival. A place where energy flows forward and not sideways. Not into the algorithm, not into comparison, not into self-sabotage disguised as updates. You don't need a new calendar. You need new rules. No screen before sunrise. No notifications while building. No devices in sacred space. No explanation needed. Because this isn't about being anti-tech, it's about being pro-intention. The man who can control his attention can control his future. Because where your focus goes, your life follows. The Stoics mastered this through internal clarity. They said, let nothing catch your soul by surprise. And yet today, you give your soul away 1,000 times a day to meaningless fragments of information you won't remember tomorrow. And each fragment is a fracture in your presence. So how do you take your time back? Not with better apps, not with planners, with subtraction. Start deleting the people who don't feed your focus, the environments that hijack your rhythm, the platforms that reward your collapse, until what's left is simple, sharp, and yours. Productivity is not about doing more, it's about doing less, with more depth, and depth only exists where distraction is removed. So choose today, choose one thing, just one, and do it completely. No tabs, no scrolling, no half presence, because one fully present hour will change more than 10 distracted days. This is not about perfection. It's about presence, because presence is the birthplace of greatness, and distraction is the graveyard of potential. You want to be respected? Control your time, own your hour, protect your minute like it's your legacy. Because it is. The world will pull you 1,000 ways. Let it pull you You return to the work, to the rhythm, to the moment. You don't need more time. You need fewer escapes. And when you subtract enough, you'll find that everything you thought was missing was buried under what you refuse to let go. You want to master yourself? Understand this first. Self-mastery is not a state. It's a daily war, not a finish line, not a mood, not a milestone you reach and coast from. It's a war with your laziness, your fear, your doubt, your appetite for ease, and it doesn't end. Every morning you wake up to the same battlefield. Will you show up or delay? Will you control the emotion or be owned by it? Will you train or excuse? Will you rise or rationalize? The enemy doesn't change. The tactics don't evolve, but you must. You don't defeat your lower self once. You defeat it again every day. In your food, in your words, in your thoughts, in your response to life's friction. The Stoics knew this war well. They didn't seek comfort. They welcomed discomfort because it revealed who they really were. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for motivation. He didn't pray for life to get easier. He said, "You don't have to turn this into something, it just is what it is. Not good or bad. Only perception makes it so." That's not philosophy. That's battlefield thinking. You want to be in command? Train like you're already at war. That means you don't eat for pleasure. You eat to fuel the weapon. You don't scroll to escape. You stay present in discomfort. You don't train when it's convenient. You train when it's necessary, which is always. You don't argue with your old self. You bury him daily. This war is not loud. It's not dramatic. It's subtle. It's silent. It's fought in seconds, in choices so small you could ignore them. But those choices, they define you. Self-mastery is not about being hard on yourself. It's about being clear with yourself. Clear enough to say, I know exactly what I'm choosing right now, and I choose alignment, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. You won't always win. You'll slip. You'll react. You'll fall into temptation. But warriors don't die from one lost battle. They reset, refocus, re-engage, without drama, without shame, without delay. You think self-mastery means being perfect? No. It means being relentless. It means waking up and re-entering the fight with more wisdom, more sharpness, more command. You want proof of your strength? Then show it when it's hardest to show. When you feel weak but act anyway. When you want to quit but finish anyway. When your mind says not today and you respond, especially today. Let others drift. Let them talk discipline but live chaos. You walk quiet, but every step is war-tested, earned, unshaken. Here's your creed. I am not my feelings. I am my standards, and I will live them, even when it hurts. Because the greatest version of you won't emerge in peace. He is forged in war. So train like it. Live like it. Move like every hour is a decision to either collapse or command, and let your self-respect come not from the praise of others, but from the knowledge that you fought the war today and didn't run. You wake up feeling the weight, that silent pressure that whispers, you're behind your goals, behind your peers, behind where you thought you'd be by now. You scroll and compare. You see others sprinting, succeeding, shining. And you wonder, did I miss my window? Did I waste too much time? But here's the truth you don't hear enough. You're not behind. You're just distracted. You haven't lost your power. You've just let it scatter into noise, into people, into false urgency. You've mistaken motion for direction, presence for progress, activity for alignment. The Stoics warned about this. They didn't fear failure. They feared wasted life. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He didn't say lazy, he said wasted. And what causes waste? Distraction. Distraction isn't just entertainment. It's anything that pulls you away from what actually builds you. It can wear a suit. It can speak your language. It can feel productive. But if it doesn't align with the man you're becoming, it's dilution. You don't need a new plan. You need to return to the one you keep abandoning. Return, not with guilt, with clarity, not with speed, with depth, not to catch up, but to go exactly where you were meant to. You're not late. You're just dispersed. You're trying to be too many things, chase too many goals, live too many lives, when all you need is to focus on one path and walk it daily. Let the others sprint. You sharpen. Let the others chase trends. You train. Let the others talk. You move silently, deliberately, powerfully. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again. With better eyes, better standards, better filters. Filters that say, not this, not them, not now. Only this. Only forward. Only aligned. You haven't lost your fire. It's just buried under the weight of things you never truly needed. So strip them. All of it. The shame, the comparison, the second guessing, the noise disguised as opportunity. And ask yourself, what would my day look like if I believed I wasn't behind it all? Just ready now? Then do that. Today. With full focus. Because here's what no one tells you. The people who seem ahead, they're distracted too, but they're just better at disguising it. You don't need to post progress, you need to live it. You don't need to announce your comeback. You need to be so consistent they feel it before you ever say a word. So breathe, reset, lock in. Because the distance between where you are and where you're meant to be isn't measured in years. It's measured in undivided hours. You are not behind. You are simply not fully here. But the moment you return, everything changes. You keep waiting for the big break, the spark, the breakthrough, the external shift that will finally change your life. But here's the brutal truth. Your future isn't coming. It's already here. And it lives inside your daily routine. Not your goals, not your vision board, not your journal full of intentions. Your routine, the tiny decisions that repeat when no one's watching. That's where your next level hides. The Stoics didn't wait for turning points. They built them. One decision, one standard, one repeated behavior at a time. They didn't pray for transformation. They trained for it, quietly, relentlessly, without applause. We live in a world addicted to dramatic change. 1-month plans, makeovers, radical resets, but lasting power. That doesn't live in intensity, it lives in consistency. Your future is not found in the extraordinary, it's hidden in the time you wake up, the food you put in your body, the way you speak to yourself in the mirror, the way you breathe when anxious, the way you move when tired, the way you choose silence instead of reaction, the way you finish what you start. These are not small things. They're everything. They are the bricks that quietly stack into the structure you call your life. The Stoics had a word for it. Praxis. Practice. Not theory. Not intention. What you do every single day. You want to see your future? Don't look at your dreams, look at your defaults, because your life is always trending. The question is, in which direction? Up, down, stalled. The trend line is clear in your routine. If your day is scattered, your future will be unstable. If Your day is focused. Your future will be sharp. If your day is filled with excuses, your future will be empty. If your day is built on intention, your future will be inevitable. So here's your audit. What time do you wake up? And why? Do you guard your mornings like sacred ground? Do you train your body, not for aesthetics, but for endurance? Do you read to sharpen or scroll to escape? Do you build or binge? Do you act from code or from mood? You don't need more information. You need more repetition. The unsexy, unforgiving kind that doesn't impress anyone, but builds everything. Here's the truth. Show me your routine, and I'll show you your destiny. And if you don't like where you're headed, don't panic. Just pivot the habits. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. This hour. This rep. This decision. The compound effect is undefeated, and that works both ways. Discipline compounds. Distraction compounds. Structure compounds. Sloppiness compounds. Peace compounds. Chaos compounds. So, the question isn't, will my future change? The question is, what am I repeating so often it's becoming who I am? And when you find that answer, that pattern that's defining you, you either reinforce it or replace it. But you never ignore it, because your routine is not neutral. It's programming you, right now. The people you admire don't have secret formulas. They just built routines so clean, so deliberate, that the results became mathematical. You don't need to be superhuman. You just need to be predictable. To yourself. Don't aim to feel inspired. Aim to be inevitable. Where the outcome is not luck. It's a reflection of who you've become by what you've repeated. So from this moment forward, stop chasing the next moment. Start perfecting this. 1. This hour, this breath, this choice, and watch what unfolds. You can build the body. You can sharpen your routine. You can discipline your habits, finish your tasks, organize your days. But if your mind isn't clean, none of it will hold, because the mind is the throne. It's where every decision starts. It's where every collapse begins. You don't lose because you missed a workout. You lose because you let your mind justify skipping the next 5. You don't fall because life got hard. You fall because your thoughts turned soft. The Stoics knew this. They trained the body, yes, but they obsessed over the mind. Why? Because the world attacks from the outside, but destruction always comes from within. You want to be unshakable? Then guard your mind like it's a kingdom under siege. No entry without scrutiny, no thoughts unchecked, no stories repeated that weaken your core. Most people clean their homes. They wipe screens. They disinfect surfaces. But their minds? Polluted. Infected with thoughts they never chose. Narratives they absorbed from the world. Assumptions they never challenged. And then they wonder why they feel uncentered, uncertain, unfocused. You don't need better motivation. You need a mental filter, because everything you allow into your head builds either a weapon or a weakness. There is no neutral input. So ask yourself, is this thought building me or breaking me? If it builds, keep it. If it distracts, cut it. If it sharpens, feed it. If it dulls, destroy it. Be ruthless, be surgical, be unapologetically clear. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who commands them. And if you don't command them, they will command you. Keep your mind clean like a soldier keeps his blade clean. Daily, deliberately, without exception. Not once a month, not when you feel like it, but every day, through breath, through silence, through exposure to truth. Not just motivation, but order. That means unfollow noise, unsubscribe from chaos, say no to conversations that leave residue, Say yes only to ideas that elevate your frame. When you keep your mind clean, you stop chasing clarity. You live in it. You stop reacting. You start responding. With weight, with poise, with fire. The untrained mind is like an open tab with 500 windows, all running, all draining, all slowing the system. You want speed? Close the tabs. You want sharpness? Clear the clutter. Meditation is not optional. Silence is not a luxury. Solitude is not weakness. They are all essential acts of mental hygiene, because if you don't carve time to reset, you will be reset by force. The Stoics did this in their journals, in their solitude, in their breath between battles. They didn't just control the battlefield. They controlled their perception of it, and in that control they found peace. And under pressure, your mind is the throne. What sits on it defines your kingdom. So make this your standard. Only thoughts that strengthen me may stay. And when doubt knocks, you don't fight it. You don't debate it. You dismiss it. Because you've trained too long to let a whisper of weakness rent space in your house. You want to become a weapon? Start with your inner temple. Keep it clear. Keep it sacred. Keep it yours. No one gets to decorate your mental walls without your permission. Keep it clean, ruthlessly, and you will walk into any room, any storm, any war, with a stillness that terrifies the noisy, not because you're better, but because you're not distracted, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're not lost, you're just buried, under layers of thoughts that were never yours to carry, so drop them, one by one, and return, to focus, to fire, to the future waiting quietly, on the other side of your clarity.